Let's just face it, the email that you just sent this morning or the one that you're going to send a little bit later on, yeah, it's in your sequence right now. It's probably not going to get a response. And then the follow-up one you have after that is pretty much garbage too. And then the breakup email, I mean, they already know it's coming, so they're probably going to block you by then. The point here is that there's better ways of doing emails that's going to help us to stand out. And on this particular podcast, on this particular episode, my guest is going to give you an idea. Something it's not going to be beneficial for everybody, but maybe it can help you. Check it out. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this podcast today, I have a guest. His name is Luke Charlton. And I think you're going to like him. Luke has some expertise when it comes towards persuasion. He's been writing emails. He's sent over like some crazy opportunity number. Let me see what I have here in my notes, because it was something that just blew me away. Sent over 1 billion plus emails. And you're probably saying, well, Donald, how in the world? Well, not only for himself, but for his clients, because he's helped about all of his clients put together about $50 million in business that he's brought to them. And the concept that he shares when it comes towards writing email, he has 3 steps, things that he utilizes. This is something that he uses for, when, helping to sell his own programs. But the concept, again, the principle behind this can help you, because if you think about it, you're sending the same emails that your prospects are sending, the same sequence. How can we differentiate? And on this episode, we're going to give you some ideas about that. What's your formula when it comes towards writing email? And then, maybe we could break that down and just kind of maybe we could steal some ideas from that we can apply to our.
So I kind of ask myself, what if they're not paying attention to this? What content are they paying attention to? And that obviously quickly led me to they're paying attention to things like streaming platforms, right? So Netflix, Hulu, they're paying attention to social media. They're paying attention to Hollywood movies, TV shows, right? And they're spending hours on these things every single day. I mean, if you look at the stats, just Google it, it's pretty amazing, maybe a little bit concerning how much time people are spending on social media on their phones. And so then my next question was, okay, what are these platforms doing, these media companies doing that I'm not? And the answer is obvious, right? They're making their content entertaining. So I realized, if I'm going to need to get my foot in the door to get people to pay attention to my content, to my emails, then I'm going to have to make them more entertaining. Then the next problem was, well, I'm not a comedian or a late night host or anything like that. So how do I make my emails entertaining? And I just started with something that naturally comes to all of us, right? It's something that we've been grown up to communicate like this since we started to speak at 1.5 years old, and that is to communicate through story. And there's not really a magic formula to this. It's when you tell a story, you just tell it like you would to a friend or a family member, right? You just start at the beginning, tell the story. And the reason why stories are great is because they're naturally entertaining. They come to us naturally, and they're naturally entertaining. So almost all of my emails now, if you read them, I'll give you an example. I mean, if you want me to read off one, they almost always start with a story. Could be a personal story, client story. Could be the one example that I've got here is a story about something that I searched on Google. But yeah, it could be personal. Can be a breaking news story. There was a story the other day about this woman. The headline was something like "Woman hospitalized because she didn't want to fight in front of her boyfriend." And I laughed, and then I thought, actually, no, I'm going to turn this into an email. I had no idea how I was going to turn it into an email, but that was the beginning of the email. So that's the first part: is you tell a story. It doesn't necessarily have to be a personal. It can be something you've literally gotten from the internet, a Facebook group. I say the best place to start is something that makes you laugh, or something that sparks an emotion within you. So makes you frustrated or angry or laugh or sad or whatever. And then once you have the story, so you tell the story, then you just go into the lesson, right? So it's story lesson. So what's the lesson of that story? Now, pretty much every story that you come up with, whether it's about farting or whatever, will have type of lesson related to your topic. You know, the funny thing is, my example here is another fart email. I don't know. I must just write all about farts.
So you like the fart emails?
No, literally, I think I've written like 3 emails about farts in my whole time, and for whatever reason, I'm referencing 2 of them in this particular interview. So yeah, there's a lesson right out of that story. It could be a dating lesson or you know, a sales lesson or whatever the lesson is that that your topic is on. And sometimes you have to think a little bit about that, and that's fine. We have to use our brains. Not everything has to be like a specific, you know, plug and play formula. But so it's a story, then you derive a lesson from that story, which I'll show you again in a second. And then now you're on topic, right? Now it's very easy to transition to the last part, which is the close. And the way that I like to transition, I just say, with that being said. So I go story, lesson, and I go, with that being said, if you need more help, you know, running Facebook ads, or if you need help, you know, making your emails convert, whatever the thing that I was talking about in that email, that's exactly what I help with in my program. You know, let's have a chat, or go here to put your name on the wait list, or go here to buy now, whatever that is. So these people, if you're cold outreaching, they'd be getting the same types of emails every single day. Right?
Exactly.
Every single day.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
Thinking of ways to come at it in a bit of a different way, in a funny way, in a way where sometimes you're overt and you're even acknowledging that, like, yeah, I'm totally going to pitch you, but you know, you're going to love this email. Here's why. No, seriously, like speaking to that skepticism like that, and being overt in that you're telling them, like, they already know when they get the cold email what you're trying to do, right? So why not just acknowledge that in a funny way, then go into your story. And then go, you know, transition into your pitch. You're not trying to. Yeah. By the way, cold emails. You know, you're not trying to pitch the program or product in that email. Generally, you just want to start a conversation, right? Even if it's just a reply or a quick phone call, something like a small call, you know, a small commitment that you want from them.
Luke, if folks out there listening to this podcast want to get in touch with you and to learn from you and see some of the cool stuff that you're doing, what's the best way for them to go about doing so?
Yeah, I guess the best way is just to jump on my list so you can see, you know, once you see how I do the emails, you'll see me do the story, lesson, close formula in pretty much all of my emails. If you just go to 9emailoffice.com, so that's the number 9, emailoffice.com, and there's like just a free guide there on just 9 different email offers that you can, if you've got an email list, or just give you ideas for different offers in your emails. You can check out that free guide if it's relevant to you. But what's probably more relevant for salespeople is just to read my daily emails and see how they work and see if they might fit for what you're trying to do with your business.
Listen, that was Luke Charlton, and I highly recommend you go back and connect with him. You can find all of his information in the show notes. Tell him that you heard him on the Sales Evangelist podcast, and go check out his website. Take advantage of the, you know, some of the cool things that he has there, his email list, and gain some insights. Maybe it could whet your palate. Now, I don't want you to say, well, Donald, this didn't tell me exactly how I'm going to send my next cold email. You promised me. Well, listen, we gave you some ideas, and what I want you to try to do is just not send that same boring crap that you've been sending that hasn't been working. Try something different. Test it out. I mean, still send your email sequence and try doing this and see if it works, or do a third and just mixture of both of them, a hybrid, to see if your structured email with something that's applying stories can give a little bit difference. As always, I want you to find more of your ideal customers. I want you to know what to say when you reach out to them. I want you to close more deals, but most importantly, I want you to raise your level of thinking and go out and do big things. Thanks so much for listening.